Good afternoon. Today is day 15 in our readings through the Gospel of John, and we're at the beginning of chapter 7, verses 1 through 31. This is a continuation of Jesus' discussion with the crowds. Ever since he healed the man at the pool of Bethesda, the Jewish leaders in Judea increased their pursuit of Jesus and their desire to kill him because of his claims to be the Messiah and claiming equality with God. The half-brothers of Jesus were in the crowd, and they were pressuring Jesus to go with them on a pilgrimage to Judea for the Festival of Tabernacles. They wanted Jesus to show off there with the miraculous and the works that he had been doing in Galilee and the surrounding areas. They believed, like many, that he was a good man who did great works, but not necessarily that he was the Christ. They were saying, you can't be famous when you hide like this. If you're so great, prove it to the world. Besides, a true Messiah, wouldn't he do his greatest miracles in Jerusalem of Judea and not among the common people of Galilee? But Jesus, always submitted to the will of the Father, knew it was not yet time. A little while later, after the crowds had already gone to Jerusalem, Jesus goes up there himself, but in secret. He knows that the Jewish leaders were asking around and trying to find him, and that there was a buzz in the crowds too about who he was. People were saying things like a good man or one who deceives the people. They were confused, but the people were careful to keep the comments quiet as they didn't want to incite the anger of the Jewish leaders. It wasn't until about halfway through the festivals that Jesus made himself known and began preaching on the temple courts. All who heard were amazed at his teaching because he had not gone to the schools and studied under the leaders as the Jewish leaders in the synagogue had. They wondered where and how he received the teaching that he taught. Jesus knew their thoughts and their murmurings, and he answered them. He clearly states that his teaching comes from the one who sent him, God the Father, and then challenges them that if they truly knew the Father, they would know that Jesus' teaching was from him because he only spoke what the Father told him to speak. Jesus' teachings were in complete alignment with what all that God had already spoken. He goes on to compare those who speak for their own glory and praise from those who speak for God, always giving glory to the Father and to God himself and not taking it upon themselves. He also points out their own heresy in that they break the law of the Sabbath in order to keep the law of Moses in circumcision, and yet they want to kill him because he broke the law of Sabbath, healing a man's body and soul. The crowd is getting more confused by the minute. They know the Jewish leaders want to arrest and kill Jesus, and here they are basically at their headquarters, and this man is teaching. The man who is teaching is clearly Jesus. Why aren't they arresting him? Do they think his claims are true? But wait, we're not supposed to know where the Messiah comes from, and yet we know that this man is from Nazareth. Well, in the midst of these murmurings, Jesus cries out, yes, you know who I am and where I am from. But I'm not here on my own authority. I'm here by the authority of the one who sent me, God the Father. And in essence, I am from the Father God, and the Father God and I are one. Finally, they try and seize him, but again, God's perfect timing prevails, for no one lays a hand on him. A couple questions to reflect on from today's reading. Are we like the people in the crowds who are afraid to speak up about Jesus for fear of what others think? Do we keep our beliefs to ourselves and amongst ourselves and don't speak up in front of those who so desperately need to hear about him? Do we also, when we speak and when we do ministry, do we do it for God or do we do it for our own glory? To say, hey, look what I'm doing. Look what God is doing in my life, and pointing to ourselves? Or does everything we do and say point to the Father? And finally, I wonder, Jesus has been making such a point in these last 2 chapters, talking again and again about how he and the Father are one. What difference does it make to us in our day-to-day walk of faith that Jesus and the Father are one? Just a few questions to think through as we continue to read through the Gospel of John. Tomorrow's reading continues in chapter 7. We pick up at verse 32 through the end of the chapter, verse 52. God bless.